Today we're going to talk about multiplying with fractions. And multiplying with fractions is pretty straightforward because all it is you're going to multiply the top numbers and then you're going to multiply the bottom numbers. And then you're going to come up with your answers. So the answer to this one would just be 3 times 1, which is 3, and 4 times 2, which is just 8. And that makes sense because 3/4, if you half 3/4, you're going to end up with 3/8. So here's another one. Just again, multiply the top, you get 2. Multiply the bottom, you get 15. Now in this case here, we can still do the multiply the top and multiply the bottom strategy, which is just going to be 3 over 24. But then you're going to have to simplify this fraction. And so simplifying is just changing the fraction so it's an equal fraction, but with fewer pieces. And so if you look here, I can divide both the top and the bottom by 3. And then I'm going to be left with 1/8. And there's an easier way of doing this, which is called simplifying before you actually multiply. In that case here, what you can think about is, I've got a 3 on the top here, and I've got a 3 on the bottom here. I've got an 8 and a 1. So since I'm going to multiply the 3 across and the 3 across on the bottom too, I can actually just go ahead and cancel them out and change them both into 1s because I'm dividing both the top and the bottom by 3 to start with. And that makes it a lot easier because 1 times 1 is 1, and then 8 times 1 is going to be 8. So here, these are pretty big numbers, and I can multiply them out the way that I was just teaching you, and then it would be pretty big numbers, and then I'd have to simplify afterwards. But in this case here, it's easier to see, hey, you know what, I know that this number here, 7, and this number here, 21, share some factors. I know 7 times 3 is 21. So this is 7 times 3. And I know over here, on the other side here, I know 6 and 36 share some factors, because 6 times 6 is 36. So this is going to be the same as 6 times 6. Now I can cancel out some of them. I can cancel out this 6, I can cancel out this 6, I can cancel out this 7, I can cancel out this 7. And what ends up happening is that both of these end up being 1s now because I've got to divide. I'm dividing by 6 and dividing by 7. And now I'm left with what's 1 times 3, that's 3. And what's 1 times 6, that's 6, which is an awful lot easier than the original problem multiplying 6 times 21 and 7 times 36. By the way, I'm still not all the way done, because here, check this out, I still need to simplify this because I can divide the top and the bottom by each by 3. So I'm going to do that, and when I'm left with that, it's a 1/2. And if you wanted to do it the long way, you'd end up with 126 over 252, which then you'd have to simplify, but it would take a lot of simplifying to do. So you can do that, but this way up here generally ends up being a bit quicker because you're simplifying before you multiply. So this is a new type of problem. It's 3 times 1/2, and anytime you use a whole number in a multiplication or a division problem, you can't do that. You've got to go ahead and change it into an improper fraction, which is really easy to do. It's just 3 is the same as 3 over 1. Because how many times does 1 go into 3? It goes in 3 times. So that's just the way of writing any whole number as an improper fraction. It's just putting it over 1. Now I multiply it out, I'm left with 3 over 2. Now you may remember this is going to be important for next. This here is not simplified. To change this into a mixed number, I have to say how many times does 2 go into 3? It goes in 1 time. And then I'm left with 1/2 as well as the remainder when I do that. So that's going to be my final answer. So here's another problem again. The rule is I can't multiply mixed numbers or whole numbers when working with fractions. So I've got to change each of these into an improper fraction. To do that, the rule is 1 times 8, that's 8 plus 1. So this is times and then plus 1. So that's going to be 9/8 is the equivalent improper fraction to 1 1/8. And then for over here, same thing. 2 times 4, that's 8, plus 3 more, that's going to be 11/4. Now, unfortunately, doesn't look like there's any way I can cancel anything out because 9 and 4 don't share a factor, and 8 and 11 don't share a factor. So I just have to multiply it out, so it's going to be 99/32. That, to figure out how many times 32 goes into 99, I know it's going to be 3, because that's going to give me 96. And so I'm left with, as a final answer, it's going to be 3 whole pieces, and then 3 30-seconds left over. So here's one where I'm just going to go ahead and multiply it out, but I've got to change it again to an improper fraction first, that second one. So it's going to be 2 times 9, 1 plus 1 more is going to give me 10/9. So again, that's left with 20/27. There's nothing I need to do with that. That's all good. Here's the final one, and here, got to change it to an improper fraction again, that second one. So it's going to be 15 plus 3 more. It's going to be 18/5. Again, if you notice, I did this on purpose. I know I can, since I've got a number on the bottom and a number on top, they're the same. I'm just going to change them to 1. I'm going to think, how many times does 9 fit into 18? It fits in twice. So that's 9 times 2. And then I can cancel out that 9 and that 18. So I'm left with just 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 1, 1, which just the answer is going to be 2.